Hi everybody. Did you manage to get your story beginnings written yesterday then? I finished mine off after I'd stopped filming and I thought you might like to hear it today. Now if your story hasn't got this many sentences, that doesn't matter. Year ones, we'd hope that you were writing 3 or 4 sentences for your story. You might be able to challenge yourselves with more. Year 2, you need to be thinking there should be a sentence for every point on that story map, at least, with descriptions and expanded noun phrases, okay? But let's listen to mine and see what we've got so far. Early one sunny morning, a boy opened his door. A gleaming white polar bear was standing there. The polar bear followed him everywhere, and the boy didn't know what to do. The polar bear looked devastated, so he decided to help him. The boy went to the Lost and Found office, but they couldn't help. The horses ignored him, and the dog just woofed. He found out that polar bears come from the North Pole. So can you see I changed it a little bit? My story adventure isn't going to the South Pole because polar bears don't live there. So we're going to the North Pole for mine. Okay, so today you've got something different to be doing. Today we're going to think about the middle of our story. We're not going to write it all necessarily today, but we're going to have a good think about it. And you're going to be very creative and think of some problems that might arise in the story and how the characters would solve them. Watch this. So we're going to continue thinking about the next part of our story today. So we did these 2 bits yesterday, and if you can see, I've highlighted the next 2 boxes in green because this is the bulk of our story. This is the biggest part of our story, and we're going to be looking at this for the next couple of days. Okay, so you can see at the top it says there was a problem, and one of the biggest problems in this story was that the little boy ran to the boat to ask if he could take the penguin back to the South Pole, but the boat just couldn't hear his voice because it was too little. So it was a problem, and he made up his solution. He thought, I know, I'm going to go on the quest, I'm going to get my rowboat, and I'm going to take the penguin back to the South Pole himself. And he did, didn't he? And he made a fantastic story. But for the next couple of days, we are going to start thinking about our own problems that we can put in the story. So you can see up here, we've got a few things that happened. We've got that they were there for days and nights, many days and nights. There was waves. And if you remember, because there was a bit of a storm. Now, this is where you can get really creative, because over the next couple of days, you can think of your own problems. Keep looking at the screen and see if you can see some of the ideas I thought of, because I was trying to think of some ways, some problems that we could have. So I thought about this. You might write one of the problems in your story is that a shark comes. Yikes. Or they get a hole in the boat. Or there's an iceberg. Or it could be, because they're all dressed up for the South Pole because it's cold, it could be that the little boy's hat blows off. Who knows? There's some other ideas here. Let's have a little look. Oh, there's some weather problems here. So it could be there's a massive hurricane, which is lots and lots of wind. You could do some good describing if that was a problem. A blizzard of snow. Some really thick fog. You couldn't see where you're going. And this picture, although it doesn't look very clear, is that the little boy is really hungry. Maybe the boy and the penguin were both hungry. Who knows? And there's a couple more. Because I thought, and there's a couple more here. We've got a crab. Maybe a crab comes up and snips something. We've got sandwiches. Maybe they ran out of food. Maybe they dropped their sandwiches. Maybe a seagull pinched their sandwiches. Who knows? There's lots of ideas to be thinking about. Today, you've got a sheet that looks a little bit like this that I've drawn up on my board. You can see that a bit better. You've got a box there and a box there. In here, I want you to draw your problem that you've had, the thing that goes wrong, And here you write down how you draw how they solved it. Because our book has got a happy ending, and your story is going to have a happy ending too. So the problem must be able to be solved. I'm having a little think. What problem could I have? Said there might be a hole in the boat. Might get really hungry. Well, I've got rocks on here, or a mermaid. Do you know, I'm going to put that a seagull, I'm not very good at drawing, a seagull does that look a little bit like a seagull? A seagull swoops down and pinches, their sandwiches and their picnic. There's a bottle of pop and a sandwich and an apple. So the seagull comes down and swoops and pinches their picnic. What a monkey. Typical seagull. But now I need to think how that can be solved in my story, because we're not going to leave that so then, if you looked closely in a lost and found story, both the boy and the penguin packed their case. And for this one, he swoops and steals the boy's sandwiches, but the penguin, or it will be a polar bear this time, opens his suitcase, and maybe should have picked things that were a bit easy to draw, opens his suitcase. You see the suitcase there that opens up, and inside he's got more dinner. So they're okay. So I'm going to write down let's have an adjective. The grey, scary seagull swoops down. Swoop. We're in a past tense. Swooped. It's happened before. Do we add a swooped? Do we add a t at the end? No. Remember, it's e and a d to make swoop into swooped. The grey, scary seagull swoops down and stole the picnic. And put a full stop. Polar bear shared. In that room shared his. Full stop. So today you can be as creative as you want. You can have some ideas and think what might go wrong in your story when we write it tomorrow, and think how to get it right and back on track and how to resolve the problem. Okay, so today you are completing your sheet that looks a little bit like this. Don't add any more to your story yet. Save your beginning of your story that you wrote yesterday. Save that. We're not doing that just yet. We're going to do this sheet to get your ideas thinking ready for us to write out tomorrow. Right, year 2, I'm going to make it a little bit trickier for you today. I'm going to add another challenge in, because there's a certain word that I would like you to use when you are writing your problems and how they are solved today, your problems and your resolutions. And that is an extra conjunction. Your grown-ups at home might not know that a conjunction is a special word that can join 2 sentences together. And we use this one, and, all the time. We use and in loads of sentences. Mrs. Wildman went to the shop and bought some chocolate. Jack scored a goal at football and celebrated by jumping in the air. There's loads of ways we can use the word and. We're really good at using the word because as well, and we're getting and we've been working hard to spell it correctly, and we're doing really well with it. So we use because a lot, but today the conjunction that I want us to work on is this one, and it's probably a short and sweet one. It's the word but. but. 3 little letters that can completely change a sentence. So today, I want you to use the word but between your problem and the way it's solved. So you can write out the problem, and instead of putting a full stop and starting new sentences like we did with the year ones, you need to add the word but to extend your sentence and to make it a little bit longer. Let's do this one together. So we know that we've only got one leg. We said that the seagull swooped down and stole the picnic. So I'm going to really quickly write that. The grey, do my expanded noun phrase, so I'm going to put a comma in between my 2 adjectives, and I'm not going to use the word scary like I did earlier. I'm going to think of a good year 2 word like, ravenous. That means that you're really hungry. The grey, ravenous seagull swooped down to snatch the picnic. And this is where we had the conjunction. This is where we had the but. But, you see it? I'm going to put a line under it so you can see it. But the polar bear, had some in his, and I'm not just going to say case because that's boring, in his brown tatty, pretend it's an old case that the polar bear's got, his brown tatty case. Full stop. Can you see that? The grey ravenous seagull swooped down to snatch the picnic. But, that conjunction that joins 2 sentences, but the polar bear had some in his brown tatty case. You could use the word but in all of your problems. Let's have a little think. This picture here of the boat, I could say, all of a sudden, the boat started to leak, but they fixed the leak with sellotape, cheese spread sandwiches, I don't know, but you can join it with the but. Or they were steering towards a huge, scary, silvery iceberg, but they swerved at the last minute. Can you see that? So year 2's, your challenge for today is when you are doing your problems and resolutions is to include the conjunction but. I can't wait to see. Well done.